afternoon, everyone. My name is Chuck Wade. For my presentation today, I'm doing Superwomen, Gender, Power, and Representation, Chapter 6, Part of Something Bigger. That's the chapter I had to read for today for my presentation, and what I'm going to connect to my reading is the show WandaVision. So, just a little presentation overview. Like I said, for just to begin my presentation, I'm going to start with gender, power, and representation, and then I'm going to lead it into WandaVision and kind of connect this chapter to that show. And then at the end, I'm going to have some discussion questions just for everybody to go over, think about, and possibly discuss in the comments. So first, we have gender, power, and representation. Okay, so Miss Marvel, aka Captain Marvel, right? She debuted in January of 1977, and to start off, like, this was a very controversial thing, right? 1977, you don't see many women superheroes coming about. Honestly, like you have the Wonder Womans of the world, and some other heroes, but I would say other than Wonder Woman, you don't see any other woman hero on the spectrum quite like Mrs. Marvel or Miss Marvel is presented when she first comes out, right? When she first comes out, she's actually meant to be an iconic hero, right? Who could headline her own title, right? So, other than Wonder Woman, like I said, there was no other woman superhero that was able to be iconic enough to come out and headline her own title or comic book. And with the creation of Miss Marvel, this was the opportunity to have that. When she first was created, she was created in a movement towards feminism, right? Like I said, we have Wonder Woman, but with Miss Marvel, you had this dynamic superhero as a woman being created to forward and to progress the feminism movement. Obviously, not being extreme feminism, but feminism as in woman empowerment, having a superhero that possesses the strength, the power, and the will and determination that all the male superheroes had, but was seen in very little of the women superheroes, as they were probably seen as desperate, needing a man to help them and to be there for them when it came to fighting villains, or whether that be in their social life, dating, all those type of things. So, like I said, she was created to move toward feminism. Then we move on. As she goes on, right, she's engaged directly with stereotypes of gender, right? As you can see in this picture here, right, with a lot of male superheroes, once you think about it, like, you don't see a lot of skin being shown with male superheroes. I mean, obviously, you have some that show a little skin, but for women, right, it's a stereotype. Obviously, like, during this time, men wanted to see women in these racy, tight, less clothing type outfits, especially for superheroes. That garnered a lot of attention for the male readers. So, as you can see in this picture, she has on this tight suit, right? She has these little bands or sleeves on her arms and sleeves on her legs, but like, they're leaving a lot to the imagination here. You get what I'm saying? Or they're not leaving a lot to the imagination. Sorry. They're not leaving a lot to the imagination for the superhero. And it was really, obviously, with her being the way that she is, a lot of people really wanted to warm up to that. You know what I mean? Like I said, the male readers. So like I said, the next bullet point, early versions of Miss Marvel were half clothed, unlike her counterpart. So just to get this whole thing kind of in a bubble, Miss Marvel, aka Captain Marvel, who she later becomes, had Miss Marvel and Mr. Marvel, if that makes sense. So she actually had a counterpart who literally had the same color scheme as her, same outfit, but his was more clothed. You know what I'm saying? So it was very, very controversial for a lot of the women to see this guy, literally her counterpart, same powers, maybe a few differences and stuff like that, but her male counterpart was literally fully clothed while she was in skimpy suits and outfits and stuff like that. So as we move on through her story, Carol Danvers, aka Miss Marvel, has a split personality, right? And this split personality is seen as a negative. It's seen as a negative because with other powerful superheroes, like you have the Hulk, right? He has Bruce Banner and then he has the Hulk. He has a split personality that isn't seen as a negative, right? His alter ego or split personality of the Hulk is seen as something very, very monstrative, very powerful, very all willing to take on anything, very powerful, right? But then as you have Miss Marvel, right? Her split personality was seen as a negative. They kind of made it seem like her split personality was something weak, if you get what I'm saying, something weak that her enemies were able to pry on and pick at to defeat her. You know what I'm saying? So it was just very, very, very controversial for her. Then we move on, and like I said, a lot of the people that were reading these comics, right, reading these stories were male, and a lot of people that were writing these stories were male as well. So like we really weren't getting a woman's perspective with a lot of the early writings for Miss Marvel, sorry. And as you can see in that third to last bullet point, right, women weren't employed in high level writing positions, right? They might be able to give a little say so on what they think a character should be represented as, but a lot of it was from the males. And I'm pretty sure during this time, like the women would probably give their opinions, right? And it probably just go one ear and out the other for a lot of the male high level writers, because they've probably been writers for a long time, were very successful before, so they probably didn't feel like they needed the input from a woman. But as we keep going, you're going to see that's going to change. So we also start, right, Miss Marvel, about breaking stereotypes, right? So we have this amazing new hero coming, right? Cosmic energy can defeat almost any, if not any, villain out there, including even some heroes. She's strong-minded, she's strong-willed, right? She was in the military beforehand, and she's just all powerful. You get what I'm saying? And I think a lot of the stereotypes she was able to break through the history of her character helped her out a lot as we keep going forward. So we look to George Perez, and I can't remember the guy's first name, but Busiek. They showcase Carol in a positive way, right? They're kind of like the first creators of the comic, not of her comic, but to showcase Carol or Miss Marvel in a positive manner. So once she's created, right, she has these skimpy clothes on, just like this picture that I have in to the right. But then once she's created by these guys, right, they showcase her in a positive way. They put more clothing on her. They don't have the split personality seen as a negative. Her split personality turns into a positive, right? Carol Danvers is so to say badass, and so is Miss Marvel. She becomes one of the most powerful, prolific heroes to ever be graced on comics. And I thought that was amazing that these guys were able to showcase her in that way. Moving on, gender, power, and representation continue, right? So we move on to the 2000s to the 2010s. And this is where Captain Marvel begins to garner more attention, right? So in 2012, Miss Marvel, right, aka Captain Marvel, is relaunched as Captain Marvel, right? So all the way up until 2012, she was Miss Marvel, right? And then a genius, I would say, comes up with the idea like, she's in the military, she's been a high-level ranking officer in the military. Let's do away with the Miss Marvel title, right? Because Miss Marvel just assumes that she's just a miss, right? And there's no negative connotation to being a miss, but somebody this powerful, this strong, this popular for all the comic book readers, right? They felt like she deserved the captain on her title, and that's what they did, right? So 2012, like I said, she's relaunched as Captain Marvel. The changed name was given to her because of her military background. Like I said, she was a high-ranking officer in the military. Then, like I said beforehand, they changed her costume because it promoted overt sexiness, right? Again, very, very little clothing. You know what I mean? Tight suits where you can leave not a lot to imagination. You can kind of like look around and see what's going on. And obviously, like as time going on and evolution and stuff like that, people are tired of it. They don't want to see women heroes presented as such. So then we get this great costume with the mohawk. She's fully clothed. You don't see really skin. Only skin you see is on her face and in her hands. You know what I'm saying? And I think this look was a lot more prominent and a lot more great for a lot of the readers to consume. But the crazy thing is, as we keep going on, you'll see like this struck chords with fans. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of the male readers, they really didn't like the new look of Captain Marvel, honestly, because a lot of the guys were very sexist. They want to see women in tight clothing, no clothes on, that type of thing. And obviously, in this day and age, that should happen with no woman. And I think a lot of it was really, really wrong for the time. Another interesting fact about Captain Marvel, like if you go through and read the comics, Captain America is the one who encouraged her, unbeknownst, to like change her name from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel, right? Kind of just like how Captain America has his name on there, and she's Captain Marvel, right? And how Captain America did this was he kind of did it as like a slight to her because he knew that she was very strong-minded, very strong-willed, that she would be like, I don't need to change my name. You know what I mean? I like my name. My name is what it is. So she fought back with him on this, but then she realized, okay, he's saying this because he's trying to help me. He sees my belief and he sees the type of hero that I can become. So she eventually changes her name. Like I said, struck a chord with a lot of fans, but in the end, everything ended well, right? Everything ended well because, like, a lot of people with the old costume, you got little kids, right? When Halloween comes around, they want to be these superheroes. And in a lot of the older versions of Miss Marvel, she had these skimpy outfits on, right? So in these skimpy outfits, it has Marvel and a lot of these comic book readers losing out on money because they can't promote Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel at the time, right? To everybody. They can only market her to grown people because of the stuff that she had on. You know what I'm saying? So it all ended well. She was able to, like I said, get this great costume redesign. And as you can see, like a lot of little girls, especially when the movie came out, had Captain Marvel outfits on and all types of stuff. So I think it was a great idea for whoever changed the costume for Miss Marvel, aka Captain. Next, I want to move on to the WandaVision comparison to the reading, right? So the big comparison that I want to make to the reading and more so to the movies as well is like, we got Captain Marvel, right? She's one of the most badass superheroes out there, right? I don't know if a lot of you have seen Endgame, but she went toe-to-toe with Thanos, right? To an extent. You know what I'm saying? And with Scarlet Witch and WandaVision, she literally created a whole portal, a whole town, and put them under a trance of mind spell just to create the reality that she wanted. She's that powerful, right? And I just think it was really, really interesting to see the dynamic of these two characters being women for one, but like also having the strength and the power and the comics to almost like ruin societies, ruin whole worlds. You get what I'm saying? Like I said, both of these women went toe-to-toe with Thanos in Endgame, which is something that very little to no one was able to do in that movie if you've seen it. And I just think like it's not sad, don't get me wrong, because I do feel like they're portrayed well, but I would like to see in further iterations of these characters, right, that they become more powerful. Because if you look in the comics, right, these women are badass, right? They don't take any crap for anyone. They're most powerful hero, some of the most powerful heroes in Marvel altogether, and that's including the Hulk. That's including Thor, who's a god. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like these women could be represented just a little bit more in today's media, whether that be in the movies or the shows like WandaVision that they have. And don't get me wrong, they are presented very powerful, but I feel like they dumb it down just a little bit from where they are. I also like, in comparison to the reading, how these women are presented now, right? In this day and age, like, you can't get away with anything, right? And I'm all for women empowerment, all for women, like, rights and them being able to live and have control for whatever they want, right? Whether that be their body, social life, no matter. I don't want to get into the specifics of what I'm talking about. I figure y'all know what I'm talking about. But I just feel like the way these women are projected now, like you look at Captain Marvel and her movie, right? She's the end-all be-all. She beats everybody. She beats a whole organization of Kree soldiers, right? She's able to get out of the mind warping thing that makes her forget her memories. She's able to regain her memories, defeat the people that took her memories away from her, and then go on to live a normal life and help people in different parts of the galaxy. Amazing, right? Then you look at Wanda, right? You look at WandaVision, she's able to do away with the Hex, right? She's able to, if you look at the movie, what's it called? Doctor Strange, right? The second Doctor Strange movie, she's the enemy in the movie. And she's literally, she defeated a whole alternate dimension Avengers team by herself. That's how powerful she is, right? And this is talking about Mr. Fantastic, Charles Xavier, who's one of the most telepathic, strongest minds out there, strongest heroes out there, right? So I just feel like those two things between these two characters, one negative and one really, really good. And I'm just happy that we finally get the proper iterations of these women. So last, I just want to close it out with some discussion questions, right? So my first question, with more women characters being represented in superhero films, will we ever reach a point when the women outnumber the men? Second question, we looked at both Captain Marvel and the Scarlet Witch, two of the most powerful characters in Marvel. Not just women, most powerful characters in Marvel. Do you feel that writers are holding them back? I already answered this from my standpoint. As far as their level of strength and emotional stability, a lot of the times I feel like in some of these movies, these characters, maybe not so more of Captain Marvel, but especially Wanda, her and Vision's relationship kind of comes to a detriment. If you look at what was it? Endgame, I think it was, or maybe even Infinity War. You look at that movie, and when she's trying to get Vision away from Thanos' soldiers or whatever, right? She tries to get them away, but it also comes at a loss because of her emotional stability isn't in check, right? She's so worried about trying to get Vision out of there. She's crying. She's in tears. She's kind of an emotional wreck. And then once he gets stabbed, it's almost like she doesn't know what to do. Luckily, Captain America and Black Widow come in there, and Sam to save them, Falcon. Then the last question we have, who will win in a fight? I'm just curious, Captain Marvel or Scarlet Witch, and why? And that's it for my presentation. I really appreciate you guys tuning in for what I had today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.